Listen carefully. Read along if you need to, but try to listen first. Every sentence is clear. Every idea is complete. This story is for your ears. Part 1. A moment the world saw coming. On July 3rd, 2026, in a city that never sleeps, in a building that has hosted the greatest moments in the history of sport, music, and spectacle, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were married. The venue was Madison Square Garden in New York City. 1,000 people were inside. Thousands more stood outside in the summer heat, holding signs and singing along to Taylor Swift songs from the speakers that had been set up on the street. News cameras lined every block. Helicopters circled overhead. For one evening, the most famous arena in America became something it had never been before. A wedding venue. The wedding of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce was not simply a celebrity event. It was a cultural moment, the kind that happens only a handful of times in a generation. It was covered by news organizations in every country. It trended on every social media platform simultaneously. It was discussed in offices, in schools, in markets, on buses, and at kitchen tables from Mumbai to Mexico City to Melbourne. And at the center of it all were two people who, just 3 years earlier, had been strangers. This is their story. And like all great love stories, it begins not with a grand gesture, but with a small, specific moment that neither of them planned. Key vocabulary: listen, then repeat. Venue: the place where an event or meeting happens. The venue for the ceremony had been kept secret until 48 hours before the wedding. Spectacle: a visually striking performance or display that draws attention and wonder. The wedding was a full spectacle: flowers, music, celebrity guests, and thousands of fans outside. Simultaneously, at the same time, happening at the same moment across different places. The news trended simultaneously in 30 countries within minutes of the announcement. Grand gesture: a large, dramatic, or impressive action intended to show strong feelings. He had always preferred small, honest moments to grand gestures, and she loved him for it. Part 2. How it began. In the summer of 2023, Taylor Swift was the most famous woman on the planet. Her Eras Tour, a concert tour celebrating every chapter of her musical career, had already sold out stadiums across America and was breaking attendance records in every city it visited. Travis Kelce was, at the same time, one of the most celebrated athletes in American football. He played as a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that had won the Super Bowl, the championship of American football, multiple times. He was known for his extraordinary skill on the field, his confident personality off it, and a television program he hosted with his brother Jason called New Heights. In the summer of 2023, Travis Kelce attended one of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour concerts in Kansas City, Missouri. He had made a bracelet, a simple friendship bracelet of the kind that Taylor Swift's fans had been exchanging at every concert, with his phone number on it. He had planned to give it to her after the show. He did not manage to give it to her that night. The security arrangements around Taylor Swift were, by that point in her career, extraordinarily complex. But he talked about it. On his podcast New Heights, he mentioned the bracelet, the concert, and his unsuccessful attempt to introduce himself.
He was open about it. Honest.
Slightly self-deprecating. He said he was a big fan. Taylor Swift later said that this was one of the things that first attracted her attention. Not the grand gesture. The honesty. Key vocabulary: listen, then repeat. Tight end: a position in American football, a player who both blocks opponents and catches passes. He had played tight end since he was 15 and had never wanted to play any other position. Self-deprecating: modest about yourself to the point of making gentle jokes at your own expense. His self-deprecating humor made him immediately likable. He never took himself too seriously. Extraordinary, very unusual and remarkable, beyond what is ordinary or expected. The security arrangements for the event were extraordinary. No detail had been overlooked. Attract attention, to cause someone to notice or become interested in something or someone. Her calm confidence, rather than any dramatic action, was what attracted his attention. Part 3. Going public. In September 2023, Travis Kelce played a home game for the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. The cameras that broadcast the match to millions of viewers found, in a private box high above the field, a familiar face. Taylor Swift was there, watching, cheering. The internet, at that moment, collectively stopped breathing. Within minutes, the image of Taylor Swift watching a Kansas City Chiefs game had been shared millions of times. Sports media, entertainment media, and social media merged into a single, astonished conversation. Who had brought them together? How long had they been seeing each other? Was this real? It was real. Over the weeks and months that followed, Taylor Swift attended more games. Travis Kelce appeared at more of her concerts. They were photographed together. They were seen arriving at restaurants, at friends' houses, at airports. The relationship, which had clearly been developing privately for some time, was now completely public. And the public, by an overwhelming majority, was delighted. There was something about the pairing that felt right to people. Taylor Swift, the songwriter who had spent her career turning personal experience into universal emotion, and Travis Kelce, the athlete who was as comfortable laughing at himself on a podcast as he was catching a pass in a Super Bowl. Both extraordinarily successful. Both apparently genuine. Both, by all accounts, deeply committed to the people they loved. Key vocabulary: listen, then repeat. Broadcast: to transmit a program or information by television, radio, or the internet. The match was broadcast live to 40 million viewers across the country. Collectively, done by all the members of a group together, as a whole. The audience collectively held its breath during the final penalty. Merge: to combine or come together to form a single thing. The two companies merged after years of competing in the same market. Pairing: two people or things that are put together or considered as a unit. The pairing of the two actors in the film was inspired. Their chemistry was immediate. Part 4. The Super Bowl. In February 2024, the Kansas City Chiefs reached the Super Bowl, the championship final of American football, the most-watched sporting event in the United States each year. The Super Bowl that year was played in Las Vegas, Nevada. Taylor Swift, who was in the middle of international tour dates, flew from a concert in Tokyo, Japan, to Las Vegas in time to watch the game. She flew over 12 hours across the Pacific Ocean to be there. The Kansas City Chiefs won. Travis Kelce scored and celebrated with his teammates. And then, in the moments after the final whistle, he found Taylor Swift in the crowd. The cameras caught the moment. The stadium, and the millions of people watching on television, saw what appeared to be a completely genuine, unperformed, spontaneous moment of joy between two people who clearly made each other very happy. It became one of the most shared images of the year. The Super Bowl of 2024 drew one of its largest television audiences in years. Some analysts suggested that Taylor Swift's presence and the global fan base that followed her had brought millions of new viewers to the broadcast who had never previously watched American football. Sport and entertainment, celebrity and athletics, had collided in a way that created something larger than either alone. Key vocabulary: listen, then repeat. Championship: a competition to find the best player or team in a particular sport. She had competed in 4 championships before finally winning the title. Spontaneous: happening naturally and without being planned in advance. The standing ovation was entirely spontaneous. Nobody had organized it. Analyst: a person who examines something carefully and provides an expert opinion about it. Sports analysts debated whether the game plan had been the right choice for weeks afterward. Collide, to crash into something, also when two very different things come together suddenly. When two enormous cultural forces collide, the result is always more than the sum of its parts. Part 5. The years between. Between 2024 and their marriage in July 2026, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce lived what appeared to be a relationship built on mutual respect, privacy when possible, and a genuine enjoyment of each other's company. Travis Kelce continued to play for the Kansas City Chiefs, adding more championship victories to his record. Taylor Swift continued to tour and record, releasing music that her audience received with the same extraordinary devotion they had always shown. They were photographed at each other's important events. They were seen supporting each other. When Travis Kelce's brother Jason married, Travis was there. When Taylor Swift performed at Milestone concerts, Travis was in the audience. In interviews, both of them spoke about the relationship in careful, genuine terms. Taylor Swift, in particular, had spent much of her career having her relationships discussed publicly and, sometimes, cruelly. She had written about this experience in her music. She had spoken about the particular difficulty of trying to build something real under the constant gaze of public attention. With Kelce, she seemed to have found something she described in an interview as the experience of being loved in a way that felt safe. He, in turn, spoke about her with a warmth and directness that those who covered the relationship noted as unusual. He did not perform admiration. He simply expressed it, simply and plainly, whenever he was asked. Key vocabulary: listen, then repeat. Mutual, shared between two or more people equally, felt or done by both sides. Their respect for each other was mutual. Neither ever spoke badly of the other in public. Devotion, great love, loyalty, or enthusiasm for someone or something. The devotion of her fans was remarkable. They traveled thousands of miles to see her perform. Milestone, an important event or stage in the development of something. Reaching 100 episodes of the podcast was a significant milestone for the team. Gaze, to look steadily at something for a long time, also used to mean prolonged public attention. Being under the constant gaze of public attention takes an enormous toll on a person. Part 6. The wedding. The engagement was announced in early 2026. Travis Kelce had proposed. The specific details of how and where were kept private, which itself felt like a deliberate and loving choice in a relationship that had spent years being watched. The announcement was simple. A photograph. A ring. 2 words from Taylor Swift posted to her social media accounts. He asked. The internet responded with the scale of emotion one might expect for a piece of news that hundreds of millions of people had been, in various degrees of seriousness, anticipating for years. The wedding took place on July 3, 2026, the day before America's 250th birthday. Madison Square Garden had been chosen, a venue that connected Taylor Swift's world of music and Travis Kelce's world of sport and entertainment in a single iconic location. The guest list was kept secret. The ceremony was described, by those who attended, as deeply personal and genuinely moving. Friends of both Taylor and Travis gave readings. Music was performed live. Vows were spoken that, by multiple accounts, made almost everyone in the room cry. Outside, on the streets of New York City, thousands of fans held a vigil of celebration. They sang Taylor Swift songs. They wore Kansas City Chiefs colors. They cheered at every car that arrived, not knowing who was inside, simply sharing in a collective joy that felt disproportionate to any single event because it was not really about the wedding at all. It was about something that Taylor Swift's music had always been about. The belief that real love exists, that it is worth waiting for, and that finding it, truly finding it, is one of the extraordinary things a human life can contain. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Proposal, an act of asking someone to marry you. Also, a formal suggestion or plan. The proposal was completely private, and she would only say that it happened somewhere beautiful. Deliberate, done consciously and intentionally, not by accident. The choice to keep the details private was deliberate. They had discussed it carefully. Vow, a solemn promise, especially one made in a religious or formal ceremony. The vows they exchanged were written by both of them and not shared publicly afterward. Vigil, a period of waiting and watching, often in a public space, out of love or concern. Thousands kept a vigil outside the venue all evening, sharing songs and stories until midnight. Part 7. What the Story Teaches US. This story, the story of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, is unusual for an English listening lesson. It is not about a historical figure. It is not about science or sport or the rise of a company. It is about two living people, their relationship, and the extraordinary public attention that surrounded it. And yet it is full of English that matters. Vocabulary about emotion and relationship and communication. Language about public and private life. Phrases about timing, about patience, about the specific texture of how two people come together. This is the kind of English that appears in novels, in films, in songs, in the conversations between friends at 2 o'clock in the morning when the important things get said. It is the English of human feeling, and it is some of the richest and most useful English there is. Because here is what I want you to notice as an English learner. The most powerful sentences in this story are the simplest ones. He asked. 2 words. No elaborate grammar. No complicated vocabulary. 2 words that the entire world understood immediately, completely, and felt something about. That is the English lesson. Not in any single vocabulary word or grammatical structure, but in the reminder that the clearest, most honest, most carefully chosen language is almost always the most powerful. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Texture, the feel or quality of something, the specific character of an experience. The texture of their relationship, easy, warm, mutually supportive, was visible to anyone watching. Elaborate, involving many careful details, complex and detailed. He did not give an elaborate explanation. He simply told the truth and let it stand. Genuine, truly what it appears to be, not false or copied. The warmth between them was genuine. It could not have been performed so consistently. Remind, to cause someone to remember something or think about something again. Great stories remind us of things we already know but have forgotten to notice. Part 8. Listening Practice. Listen to the story again from the beginning. Then answer these questions out loud in English. Where was the wedding held? And what was unusual about the choice of venue? How did Travis Kelce first try to meet Taylor Swift? And what went wrong? What happened in September 2023 that made their relationship public? Why did Taylor Swift fly from Tokyo to Las Vegas in February 2024? How did both Taylor and Travis speak about each other in interviews during their relationship? What 2 words did Taylor Swift post when announcing the engagement? What was happening outside Madison Square Garden on the night of the wedding? Now retell the story in 5 sentences. Say them out loud, in your own words, without looking at the text. Start with this sentence. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were married in New York in 2026, but their story began 3 years earlier when...
Keep going.
Use the words you have. Do not stop. The telling is the practice. The attempting is the learning. Bonus: 20 words from this story. Attend, to be present at an event. She attended every one of his home games that season. Reveal, to make something known that was previously hidden. He revealed very little about their relationship in public interviews. Genuine, truly what it appears to be, not performed or false. Their happiness looked genuine, not arranged for cameras, but simply real. Overlap, to cover part of the same area or time as something else. Their worlds overlapped in surprising ways. Sport, music, and entertainment all connected. Anticipate, to expect something and be ready for it. Millions of people had been anticipating the engagement for over a year. Commit, to give all your time and energy to something, to be dedicated. She was fully committed to every project she undertook, without exception. Defend, to protect something or someone from attack or criticism. He defended her publicly whenever anyone spoke negatively about her. Celebrate, to do something enjoyable on a special occasion, to show happiness about something. The fans celebrated in the streets long after the ceremony had ended. Loyal, remaining faithful and supportive even when things are difficult. Her fans were extraordinarily loyal. They supported every chapter of her career, without exception. Describe, to give a detailed account of something in words. She described the proposal only as something she would always remember. Devote, to give all your time, attention, or energy to something or someone. He devoted himself to the game the same way she devoted herself to music. Surround, to be all around something or someone on every side. They were surrounded by friends and family who had supported them from the beginning. Admire, to regard something or someone with respect and warm approval. He admired her work ethic and said so openly whenever he was asked. Capture, to record or represent something accurately, especially a moment. The photograph captured a moment that no planned image could have equaled. Receive, to get or be given something. Also, to react to something in a particular way. The announcement was received with joy by almost everyone who heard it. Private, intended only for particular people, not for general public knowledge. She had always kept her most important relationships as private as possible. Express, to convey a thought, feeling, or idea in words or actions. He expressed his feelings plainly, without any of the performance that might have seemed expected. Connect, to bring two things or people into relationship with each other. The relationship connected two worlds, sport and music, that had rarely overlapped before. Witness, to see something happen, to be present at an important event. Thousands of people gathered outside to witness, in their own way, the most famous wedding of 2026. Unforgettable, so memorable that it is impossible to forget. It was, by every account, an unforgettable evening, even for those who were not inside. Part 9. The language of love and relationship. The English vocabulary of love and relationship is one of the most important sets of words you can develop as a learner. Not because you need to talk about celebrities, but because love, connection, and human relationship are things every person thinks and speaks about in every language. Here are the most important phrases and expressions in English for talking about relationship. Fall for someone, to start having romantic feelings for someone. He did not plan to fall for her. It simply happened gradually, and then all at once. Make someone feel seen, to make a person feel understood and truly noticed. The best relationships make both people feel genuinely seen. Take a chance, to do something risky, because you believe the result will be worth it. She decided to take a chance and reach out to him, even though she was not sure how he would respond. Be on the same page, to have the same understanding or intention as someone else. Before they made any public statement, they made sure they were completely on the same page. Stand by someone, to continue to support a person during a difficult time. He stood by her during every difficult moment of her career and asked for nothing in return. Build something together, to create a shared life, project, or future through joint effort. They built something together carefully and quietly, away from the noise of public attention. Give someone your whole heart, to love someone completely and without reservation. He gave her his whole heart openly, and she trusted it. Go the distance, to stay committed to something all the way to the end. They had both gone the distance in their careers. Now they were going the distance together. Put someone first, to prioritize another person's needs above your own. In every interview, both of them described putting the other person first as the natural way of things. Be there for someone to support and be present for a person when they need you. Being there for each other, at games, at concerts, in ordinary moments, was the foundation of everything. These are the phrases of real English relationship conversation. You will hear them in films, in interviews, in song lyrics, in the conversations of the people around you. Learn them. Use them. Let them become part of the English you carry. Final listening exercise. Listen to this paragraph one time. Then cover the page and say it back in your own words. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were married on July 3, 2026, at Madison Square Garden in New York City, in front of 1,000 guests and thousands of fans outside. Their relationship had begun 3 years earlier, when Travis Kelce attended one of Taylor's concerts and spoke honestly about trying to introduce himself. It became public in September 2023, when cameras caught Taylor watching one of his football games. They supported each other through years of extraordinary public attention, and their wedding was received around the world as a moment of genuine joy. Outside the venue, thousands of fans sang Taylor Swift songs in the summer streets of New York until midnight. Now say it back,
Slowly.
in your own English. Do not worry about what you forget. The parts you remember are the parts that found a home in your memory. That is how listening becomes language.
Keep going.
Keep listening. Part 10. Why this story matters for your English. Stories about real, current events do something for language learners that historical stories cannot do. They give you a living context. When you hear the words simultaneously, and you know it describes the exact moment that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding trended across 30 countries at the same time, that word has a real, vivid, current home in your memory. It is not a word from a textbook definition. It is a word from something that just happened. Something the world is still talking about. This is why English listening stories about current events are among the most powerful tools available to you. The language sticks because the events are real, recent, and emotionally engaging. Think about the words from this story that are most likely to stay with you. Spontaneous, because you heard it in the context of a moment seen by millions of people. Devotion, because it described the extraordinary loyalty of Taylor Swift's fans across decades. Deliberate, because it described a couple choosing carefully to keep something private in a world that wanted to make everything public. Genuine, because it appeared again and again to describe the specific quality of what people saw between them. These words will come back to you, not because you studied them, because they arrived inside a story that mattered. That is the power of listening through narrative. Language enters through feeling. Feeling makes it stay. So keep listening. Keep choosing stories that engage you. Stories from sport, from music, from history, from the extraordinary ongoing drama of the world around you. Build your English the way great things are built. Not all at once. Not perfectly. Piece by piece, story by story, word by word. One listening session at a time. SERA English.
Keep going.